Master Grade Gundam Age-2 Dark Hound. Hey, what's up again, everybody? Robert184, 2Rs2Bs, Gundam Reviews.net, and you've already seen the unbox, the plates, and the parts for this Master Grade Gundam Age-2 Dark Hound, and now it's time to put it all together and check it out in its most important form, the mobile suit for this Super Pilot Pirate MS. And when he's all put together, this super piloted pirate here, in terms of a mobile suit, the Age-2 Dark Hound is going to look pretty good for quite a few different reasons. Starting with just the colors here, the very dark gray for the outer body is definitely going to be the most standout feature. I'd say that it even looks more predominant than the white on the Age-2, even though that seems silly when you think about the wings there. But you're not going to see very much of the inner frame for the lighter gray there, outside of the elbows, and what you're going to see for the anchor shots, they're pretty much invisible. Which means the eye is all going to be drawn to the wine red, black, and dark gray. Definitely not a bad thing, but in terms of posability, you are going to have to be a little bit careful, because the legs are fairly complicated, and because of that, they're not bad legs. I've seen a lot worse on Master Grades, but they are going to be a little bit finicky if you want to get them lined up just so. And also with the binders, they are going to give you tons of options for posing, but again, to get a nice symmetrical pose, you'll just have to put in a tiny bit of little effort. Articulation now, where you're going to be able to kick the leg up forward, and you can get the side skirts out of the way there if you get the arm out of the way, and you're going to be able to get full splits off to the side. You're going to get a nice bend there with the knee. Just remember that you don't want it to go all funky there. And you can also move the landing gear / kneecap down ever so slightly, and not really more than that, which means it's going to look awkward no matter what you do with it. And for the ankles, you've got this point of mobility and this point here, which, as pointed out, isn't as good as the high-grade Dark Hound, never mind the old 00 kits. However, even with the awkwardness of the legs and what they've been providing there, the ankles have seemed to have gotten it into place without too much difficulty. For the waist and the upper body, it feels like this chest here has been moving around more than you'd expect, forward and back and off to the side, and it's going to rotate around pretty well there. It's also just going to feel a little bit loose again because you've got these chest sections here that can move around easily. And the shoulders, if you pop them out there and you can see that little gray part remove itself, you're going to be able to bring the arms fairly well back and a little bit forward as well, although that just popped off this cover here on the back, and you can also lift it up quite well. Once you pop that gray polycap back into place, you're going to be able to twist the arms around here, although you'll notice that this is going to bump a little bit, but that can be slid out if it becomes too much of a problem. You can move the arm around there at the shoulder as expected, full 180 for the arms there, and for this part itself, you can bring the black part forward and back, and you can also move these parts around all over the place, bringing them all the way up parallel to the ground. And then for these parts, they're going to move around nicely and independently. Lots of parts that are going to move. Hopefully they're not going to be any problematic ones. For comparison, with the normal being inspired by the Zeta, and of course the Dark Hound just being a take on that, it's still clear to see that the color scheme and the weaponry is going to be inspired by the X2 Crossbone Gundam over there, piloted by Zabine, very famous in Gundam Extreme Versus, and just a lot of fun overall, both in manga form, G Generations, and everywhere it does show up, which is sadly not in plastic model form, which is why this is a custom paint job, with unfortunately very glossy black, and the weapon is just borrowed from the Burger Gyros and the V-fin is wrong. However, you can see some of the influence over there with the chest, and the skulls on the chest and the headboard, but overall you're going to get a very black effect, or a very dark gray if you want to do it that way, or even purple, with the X2, whereas that gray is definitely going to dominate with just some black highlights. For third wears, it's worth taking a look next to the Age-1 Sparrow Flitz, a third suit from the first generation. Definitely a lot taller and lankier and leaner, and you definitely get a more filled out look from the I almost called it the crossbone over here, from the Dark Hound, which is going to make sense, except when you look at it and realize just how thin those wings are. It's really the anchor shots that add to its overall width. Next to its predecessor, the Age-2 Normal, this is engaging builder form, not the model form. This is the only way you could get a 1/100th figure or toy or model until the Master Grade came out, and you can see that it's definitely going to be a lot bigger and just more filled out, and that the model itself is definitely going to look a lot skinnier and lankier. Finally, next to the Age-2 Normal in Master Grade form, its review will be up shortly. You can just see definitely the similarities, as you're going to have a lower body that's going to look pretty much identical, outside of the fact that you've got the Age symbol there built into the chest, whereas you've got a pirate cross, a skull on the Dark Hound, and the wings are going to be completely different, along with that very unique flat top head. But in terms of colors, you've definitely got the very famous tricolors there, almost 00 inspired if you want to look at the shoulders in that way. But then again, the Dark Hound definitely going to stand out the most unique in terms of all the coloring of all the leads, although Kyo really did take over that title. But having these two together, there's only one more that they're missing, and I think it's a fantastic combination. The Dodge Lancer is going to fit in hand easily enough, as you've got the peg on the inside of the hand if you want to go with the trigger finger extended there. But just in terms of sheer size, it's already going to cause a few weight issues as he wanted to topple forward here. Doesn't help that he's on a rotating base and not actually supported by the ground. But that is definitely a huge increase over what you're going to be getting with the Burgagyros or the previously seen X2. I haven't repositioned the legs from the previous pose, so yeah, you can guess that. Even worse, if you want to take a look at the way he fell over, well, it's thanks to those legs that are going to have that strange part in there for the transformation. So if you want to bring that back up, and I'm going to hold the legs up here, you wonder if over time, yeah, that upper body looks like it's going to collapse down a little bit. And actually, just a second before I hit record there, this arm was collapsing downward somewhat. Thank you, Dees. Generally, the first ground pose that I want to try is the looking down the barrel. In this case, it's just going to be an incredibly long replacement for the BR there in the form of the Lancer. And when you try to do that, you're going to notice a few things. First of all, you are going to have some good mobility with these shoulders, but you are going to be somewhat limited in that you're going to have them moving at least in somewhat parallel with the actual arms when you do it. He seems like he does want to balance, but right now if you take a look at the way the ankles are positioned, he's only going to look good if you look at him, if you set him up on your shelf in about an angle that you're going to see in about a second there like that, yeah, he's not going to look bad. But getting him there, really those legs are collapsing all over the place, and he was toppling forward and back before I found one and just decided to hit record and stick with that. This is almost enough to make me want to give up here on ground poses. This part fell off the shoulder when I was trying to get him there, and the less you see of the legs and him falling over, yeah, well, the better. To try that again with another casualty off the back there on the leg, slightly repositioned. This isn't designed to look cool, just trying to see what different things you can get. But first of all, you're not going to be able to bring the Lancer across the body itself because that shoulder is going to work great if you want to go up or down or back with it. But to bring it across, definitely not going to be able to reach across and touch the other arm. The legs, they're more and more problematic every time I try it on the ground. Definitely made to be airborne, this guy. But you are going to have some fun with these parts on the wings on the side because you are able to spin them around there just by popping them forward and out, and you can twist them off in some interesting angles, and the anchor shots definitely add some cool pizzazz to this whole thing. But this bird was meant to fly, whether it's escaping the gravity wells of Jupiter or Mars or the asteroid belt. Well, you get the idea here. And the help of an action-based one sold separately, you're just going to put on the custom attachment point and pop that tail back out of there. He's going to look very awkward from some angles here, but not bad from others. You can definitely see some cool parts, but there are going to be some disappointing parts, like that knee sticking up there pretty awkwardly. You can get the toes down well, and I am a big fan, though, just of the way that these wings that they're going to be moving. You can even have them offset there, and something else to be careful of in terms of weight issues here with the Lancer is that the ankle or the wrist there, they can roll inwards if they're trying to hold it up all by itself, so you're going to have to make sure that you get the elbow into the right place as well. For pure weaponized aerial fun, though, you can actually have a lot of fun with this kit. Even if you want to open these up all the way sideways, going up and down, and you want to pop down those small black parts, they can be a lot of fun. And remember that you can use the anchor shots when they're still attached into the wings and have them just angled forward and then the two leads going forward. Cut it to whatever length, bend it if you want, and so far no weight issues whatsoever. And looking at this guy straight on, yeah, he's looking pretty cool, like he's gonna go tow a truck. And, hypothetically speaking, imagine you went to another planet, enrolled in high school, joined the Mobile Suit Club, befriended the locals, and then it was revealed that you were the genocidal leader of another planet. Well, you probably don't want to meet this guy in this kind of pose, because now we've got Asemu doing what he does best, dual wielding. It's unfortunate that the Master Grade's not going to be doing it all that well, because even though the beam sabers have slits up and down either side, if you want to use the actual trigger finger, the 3-finger trigger finger split, it's going to have that attachment point, but the regular beam saber graspers is not going to do that. However, what you can do with these two beam sabers, I think that the clear pink against the body, especially with that red wine color there, is going to look fantastic. The binders, no matter what you do with them, whether they're going forward or back, open or closed, and if you want to set it all up with an anchor shot, get over here. Definitely, you do not want to be Zayhart, and you probably should have just stayed behind in the command center right about now. And while the Lancer is definitely going to be alright in terms of a weapon, except for its size and the slight weight issues built into it, I think it's just when you see poses like this that everybody's going to be anxiously awaiting Gundam Extreme Versus Championship Edition Turbo Super Fighter. You get the idea. Dual-wielding Dark Hound with Kyo and Flit. That's just going to be a lot of fun if he could just actually keep his beam saber in his hand. I didn't even touch it there. That's going to wrap up my look at the mobile suit mode here for the Dark Hound, and don't forget that with the beam sabers you could do Darth Maul style, New Gundam style, whatever you want with the combination of the 4 that they're going to give you. But stick around to see this transformed into the Strider form and see how that's going to work out, and don't forget to let me know what you think of the MS, and stick around for my verdict where I'll have all my final thoughts in one place. Anyway everybody, as always, thanks for watching, see you next time. Son, what have I told you before about dual wielding? One small knife, that's all I ever needed. And who's ever said that you could go and run off and join the carnival? I mean pirates. And who's there for your I mean, geez, all I do is make them play arcades all day.